All right. What is up, guys? How's it going? Welcome to chat number 25. Just 4 more left after this. This is the last 5 chats we're starting today. And really excited to be joined by PokeBB. Thank you very much for hopping in kind of last second to fill the slot. We had a bit of a scheduling issue and BB stepped up. I blew the horn of Gondor and a couple of people hopped in, but BB was the first one, and so we're going to be chatting to him tonight, and I'm very excited to chat and see what you've been up to. So if you want to let the people know kind of who you are, where they can support you, all that stuff, that would be awesome.
For sure. First, I'll just say kudos to you, because this many days in a row is definitely a feat. I know my backlog is still built up with a few episodes I'm trying to catch up on myself, so I guess this will eliminate one from my own backlog thing.
There you go.
Happy to see that. But I guess a little bit about me, where you can find me. I mean, I sell on eBay. Not that that's really that big of a deal, but you can find me on Instagram at PokeBB_. Maybe there might be an underscore at the end. I don't remember.
I think so.
Or on Discord. I'm in multiple different Discords, so you'll see me around. As we were chatting a little bit ago, posting links sometimes, but nowadays not as much while things are crazy. But yeah, a little bit of my backstory, I guess. Typical 90s kid. I'm actually the youngest of 5, and so my older brothers, whenever they got into something, that's also something I got into, and so got into Pokemon as soon as everything was out. So probably spent the most time playing the Game Boy games. Played Red and Blue because I have twin brothers and another older brother, and so they always one got one version, one got the other. So when it came to Red and Blue, Gold and Silver, played the games up until Emerald. I think didn't get Emerald, got Black and White, and so sort of hopped in and out from the video game standpoint for most of my life. The cards, though, that was a big part of my childhood, and so I remember opening base set packs all the way up until I think Sandstorm was the last set that I was actually actively opening packs and putting in binders. But I'm one of those kids that had the tragic story of had a binder of my best cards in a storage unit. Storage unit ended up getting lost, and so lost those cards forever.
Oh no!
Still have some of my cards. Yeah, it's painful. They were actually in a Southern Islands binder. So to me, Southern Islands has such a bittersweet feeling whenever I see anything Southern Islands, because that was my binder.
Yeah.
When you're one of 5 kids, you share a lot of things, but the Southern Islands was my binder. That was what I got for a gift. And so everything that I had that was just mine went into that binder.
Yeah.
But like I said, still have a bunch of cards from my childhood, and Sandstorm would have been what, 03, 04, something like that.
Somewhere around there.
I actually didn't get a whole lot of the E-series. And so looking back now, that's actually in an era that I'm very fond of. I'm very nostalgic for the Silver Border EXs as well, once Nintendo era came out. And so went out of the card scene around that time. And then randomly, I guess this would have been, is it 09 that Platinum came out? I think the card series, at least, or the card sets. My brother and I, one of my brothers, we would go to Dave & Buster's all the time, and they actually had Pokemon packs as prizes. And so we, for whatever reason, just got a whole bunch of Platinum packs as prizes from Dave & Buster's. So I have a bunch of Platinum cards that I didn't even know what half the Pokemon were at the time. We were just cracking them just because we're oh, we like Pokemon, trying to relive childhood a little bit, then fell quickly out of that again, and then came back in during the COVID boom, and that's when everything sort of started and got me to here.
Cool. Yeah, that's always tragic when people are I traded away all my cards, or my parents sold them at a garage sale, or my mom threw them away, or it always sucks to hear that when cards just disappear, and you don't get to. But it's good that you have some of the cards that you had when you were a kid, though, so that's good. Some of them were saved, but just not all of them. Would you classify yourself now as a collector, as a kind of a side hustler, all the above? Where what neat little box can I fit you in?
Yeah, it's hard for me to put myself into a box. I'm a little bit of all of that. Um, Definitely scaling up on the side hustle piece of things this year. I was one of those people that, even though I got back in 2020, I didn't actually sell anything for, I think, over 2 years because I was just like learning and slowly acquiring things.
Hmm.
I was in grad school at the time, so didn't have a lot of disposable income, but spent what I had to collect some things, and have really just been scaling that part up. But where the collecting, I guess, comes in is I find myself gravitating to some cards, but honestly, I have a bunch of sitting cuties. I have a bunch of plushes. If you see me around at card shows, you'll see I have a Squirtle hat and have a bunch of those hats as well. So I don't know. I just gravitate to the plushie related things. Obviously, those take up a lot more room. And so I'm much more limited on how much of that I can actually collect. But it really spans across cards, squishmallows, plushies, all of that good stuff.
Nice. All right. Did you see that they just released life-size evolution plushes?
I did. I also saw the price tag was like 400, and I was
Oh,
like,
Jesus.
that's a pass for me.
Yeah, maybe not.
Hmm.
That's crazy. Those are expensive. Let's say hi to a couple people in chat before we continue on. We got iFOMO, nice and early. PokeMage, what's up to you? And to Green Shiz, PokeBB the goat. I agree. So the last I feel like last year, if I was ever at an event for Collecticons, you were vending, and I feel like this year, I am not sure. There hasn't been that many Collecticons, to be fair, but I feel like you haven't been the same involvement in the conventions Collecticon so far. What are you planning this year? I guess that's the same question that Greeny has. What are you planning this year for Collecticons? Are you still interested in vending, or is that kind of taking a backseat to some other stuff you're doing?
Yeah, the last Collecticon I actually went to was Chicago last year, so October. What I've really been focusing more on is local shows. So I've vended a couple of times at my biggest local show, and wanted to really just try walking around buying just to see how it would go. And things seem to be a lot more lucrative that way for me. And so that's what my focus is shifting to this year as well. So I'm planning on going to a couple of different Collecticons as well as both card parties. I think what I'll end up doing is vending at both card parties, and then to the Collecticons I go to, I'll walk around to buy. And my first Collecticon will be Orlando, which is Memorial Day weekend. So looking forward to that one in about a month.
Yeah.
And then the other Collecticons I'm planning to go to are Jersey for Beerski Palooza.
Awesome.
Excited for that one. And then probably Charlotte.
Sweet.
It's the week after Gen Con, I think. So still trying to figure the logistics out for that.
Thankfully, they're not the same week this year.
Yes. Yes.
So that's good.
Happy about that.
But yeah.
Because Gen Con's only an hour away, so I can drive.
Mm.
There aren't any super close Collecticons except maybe Cleveland, because I'm in Southwest Ohio. Okay. But Cleveland is the same weekend as Card Party Tampa, which I'll be prioritizing that over Cleveland. So
yeah. Okay. What would you say some of the things that, because you've vended a lot of Collecticons now, it sounds like you're vending a lot of local stuff. What are some of the differences that you like? Like, what do you like about local shows that Collecticon doesn't give you? Or is Collecticon better for selling? Is one better for buying? Like, what are some of the differences that you see, or things that you like about each versus the other?
Yeah, I haven't really walked around to buy a Collecticon yet. So all of my thoughts on that, I guess, probably come from absorbing what other people have had to say. So I'm excited to see. I feel like it'll probably be a little bit more optimized from the sellers at Collecticons compared to my local shows. I've established a lot of relationships actually with a lot of the local sellers here. And so I can probably get pretty decent deals compared to what I expect to be able to find walking around Collecticon. But I don't expect there to be as much variety, as well as just like the sheer volume that'll be available.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited to see what the difference is from a buying perspective. And then from a selling perspective, I mean, local show, I brought what I would normally bring to Collecticon. And what I found was Japanese just doesn't really sell at all locally for me. I could move some at Collecticons, and the plushies probably move a little bit better at Collecticon as well, which isn't super surprising. But then if I throw Card Party into the mix, that's also just a whole other thing as well, because I feel like Card Party is just much more family oriented and collector focused, as opposed to, many people have said Collecticons are very business focused when it comes to even just like the whatnot sellers walking around, etc. And so Card Party was just a much different feel. A lot of people trying to complete sets, and so tailoring my inventory to that is a lot different than Collecticon, where I'm really just trying to find like the most popular things. I know last year at Card Party, I put an emphasis on a lot of the baby shinies from Paldean Fates, because I knew people would be wanting to come around, and then also 151 singles. So there were so many people that wanted those like obscure niche things from those sets, not necessarily like the biggest hits, but they're wanting to fill in their sets. And so definitely learning experiences, and definitely different customers walking around at each of the different events.
Yeah, I think the video that I did where I interviewed you and a few other vendors, I think that was at Card Party. And Card Party, I assume, I mean, I heard that you guys did really well selling at Card Party. But as a person who was just walking around and taking in the event, that it's a really interesting show, and I do recommend people go, especially if they like the YouTube side of things. I think there's a lot to do and a lot to hear. You hear from some of the biggest like Pokemon YouTubers. They go up on the stage, they play games, they do Q&As, they do all that stuff. But there's also the big vending hall where you guys were at. I mean, Card Party in Orlando had two halls of the hotel were just full of vendors, and there's all sorts of stuff for kids and families to do, and it seemed like you guys did really well from a venue perspective at Card Party. I'm excited to go to. I'm going to the Seattle one, so I'll see you there, and I'll also see you at everywhere else, Charlotte and probably Jersey and stuff like that. So it should be
awesome.
Be fun.
Yeah, looking forward to that. I will say, Card Party was just interesting because I felt like the days were maybe not shorter, but the security there was actually really tight. And so it was like a scramble getting in and out at the beginning and end of the show every day. And so it was a lot more stressful. Whereas Collecticon, I feel like they're like, yeah, you got to get out. Come on, get your stuff put away. But like at Card Party, they were like, nope, it is time. You got to get out of here right now. We don't really care what state your tables are in. So that was another thing that was just very strange and a little bit difficult about Card Party.
Yeah. I wonder if Pat has an idea of how many he would like to kind of max out at. I think 2 for Card Party is probably perfect. 1 West Coast, 1 East Coast. Maybe he adds 1 like Midwest, somewhere in the center of the United States as well. But I feel like 2 per year it keeps it like a fun thing, months apart. Brings all the YouTubers together. Like I feel like from that perspective, I wouldn't want him to become like Collecticon, where he's got 1 every month and YouTubers are flying all over to try and, I think 2 is probably the sweet spot, but we'll see.
Yeah, and I think I've seen him say, or either I read it or I've heard him say, that he's not making any money off of these. So depending how much he's actually losing, I'm sure that also is going to play a big factor into how many he actually wants to try to put on. I know the community loves it, and I know he probably gets a lot of fulfillment from putting these events on, but I'm sure it's also very draining from an energy, time, and partially financial standpoint as well.
Yeah, for sure. We have Greeny with the questions tonight, taking on Hoot's spot. Thank you, Greeny. Appreciate it. What are you doing with Lorcana nowadays, BB?
Yeah, so Lorcana I got into from the start. I went to Gen Con the year that it released and got some first chapter before the game was even actually out. So I've sort of been in it ever since. Been in and out of playing, but I still build decks basically every time a new set comes out. Still consuming a bunch of content for Lorcana from the gameplay side. I played this is a tie-in with Pokemon too, I guess. But I played the TCG Live app for a while, and then once Lorcana came out, I sort of went away from playing Pokemon on my phone to building decks of Lorcana and actually playing it in person. So I try to get up to my LGS whenever I can to play on the weekends, but still collecting, still opening every single set that releases. So just enjoying that as more of a true collectible and just picking up cards. I guess that's one thing that's good about vending is when I am at Collecticon or whatever else, I can put on my buy sign that I'm also buying Lorcana just so I can get some cards for my collection and cheaper as well at my, my business rate of whatever percent I'm buying at that day.
Yeah, true. For the Lorcana side of things, I haven't really been in it. It looks really cool. I really like all the Disney, like especially Lion King and stuff like that. A lot of the cold foils, like doesn't Scar have a cold foil? I've seen that one. That looks pretty awesome.
Here you go.
Yeah, exactly, right there. Yeah, that's so sick. Lorcana's got some amazing cards. But have you seen? I feel like from a very outside perspective, that Lorcana's popularity has kind of gone down over time.
For sure.
I feel like when it released, it was like pretty hype. People were excited about it, and now I feel like less people are talking about it. But maybe I'm just not in the right circles. What are you seeing with it?
I think that's pretty accurate. I think when it came out, everything was so hyped, and there was money to make in the game because they didn't print enough. That I think that drew a lot of people in just the financial side of it. And then by the time towards the end of the second set coming out, when the third set was coming out, they had sort of realized what the demand was and probably overcorrected and printed a little bit too much. And so a lot of the financial aspect of it really still resided in Chapter 1 Enchanteds, which are like the alternate arts, if that's what you want to call them. And I think those are still probably pretty lucrative if you can find them, although they've been faked a lot. So just warning to anyone who's out looking for enchanteds that are raw. There's a good number of fakes that have gone around because they don't have any texturing at all. And so there's some very specific things you need to be looking for when looking at enchanteds.
Is that just for the first chapter enchanteds, or is that enchanteds just in general?
It's all of them, yeah. But since the first ones hold the most value, that's the ones that you see faked the most.
Gotcha.
And then I'd say outside of that, any of the value associated with the cards is really, and the demand, honestly, I would say is mostly tied up in the player base. They haven't held their first world yet. We're kind of still waiting to hear. It's just been radio silence for a while. They had their regionals and their, I guess, what would be sort of like the national finals across multiple different regions of the globe. And so people have qualified for worlds. They just haven't actually announced when it's going to happen. Gotcha. So I think they're still, this is their first time around. I mean, this came out in August of 23, I think. Yeah, August of 23. So about a year and a half in now. And they've had a couple of hiccups, I would say, with the competitive scene, just like with organizing and such. And so I think they're still just trying to nail down exactly the best way to do that. But yeah, I think that's where most of the demand comes from, is actually the player side. And looking at TCG Player, when I look and see what values of cards are outside of the enchanteds, it's, I would say, probably 100% driven by what's playable and what's not.
Gotcha. So the cards that are holding value are the ones that are playable in decks outside of the enchanted cards, which so are the cards really the only cards worth like grading to sell are just the enchanteds, basically. There's really nothing else that's like collectible.
Yeah, for the most part. For the most part, I did grade personally some, and I know some others who have had success grading like the cold foils from Chapter 1. Just, I don't think there was enough Chapter 1 printed to meet the demand. And it was the first chapter, so first set had the most hype. So I think some people had some success with first chapter, but outside of that, yeah, if you're looking to grade, at least I would say definitely enchanteds are where you're going to find margin if you're looking for it. Gotcha. But even then, it's still mostly just the first chapter, I would say.
Yeah, I feel like Magic is very like that, where like the playable stuff is usually the most expensive unless it's like a super, crazy rare whatever card that you want to get graded. But I also feel like that Oh, what do they call them now? Oh shoot. It's the ones where they're doing all the combinations with like Final
Yeah,
Fantasy and
I'm drawing a
SpongeBob,
blank.
and I forget what they're called, but it's like all the different planes.
I was gonna
But
say someone will hopefully
yeah,
fill us
someone
in
in
the
chat
chat.
will say. Um, but I feel like maybe those are more collector focused. Secret Lair, that's what it is.
Yes.
That those are maybe more collector focused, and I'm sure players still make decks out of like a SpongeBob Commander deck or something like that.
Hmm.
But it seems like those would appeal more to just collectors of that IP. Like,
Yep.
the cool Lord of the Rings cards are going to go to not necessarily players, but also people who just love Lord of the Rings and are excited that it's on a card again.
Yeah, and I guess that's one big difference between that Magic has done that Lorcana or other games haven't done is trying to create a product that is specifically tailored towards the collector. So when you have the collector's version of each of these Secret Lair sets, it's more appealing for those just trying to chase the rarity. I mean, obviously you bring in like the serialized cards, et cetera, which for Pokemon that's a whole nother thing. But
Yeah.
oh, here we go. My Siri's trying to listen to me. Sorry. But yeah, I think that's a cool aspect. I'd like to see Lorcana do a little something more for the collectors. But
Yeah.
we'll see.
Would that be like a whole set, or would it be like adding another level of rarity, or what do you think they could do that they haven't done that would appeal more to that collector base?
I wouldn't mind seeing another rarity level because right now it's really just like your non-foils, your cold foils, and then the enchanteds. And the enchanteds, there's like up to double digits per set, probably roughly around 10. And the arts are great. I like them a lot. It's just if it's enchanted or bust, if you're going for something that's actually collectible, it feels a little bit lackluster. Enchanteds are like roughly one in a case, and a case is 4 boxes. So roughly 1 in 4 boxes.
Is that like almost were gold stars like 1 in 4 or 1 in 2 boxes or something?
Yeah, I think that's what
I forget.
the rumor was, something like that. Yeah,
Something like that.
or not rumor, but what everyone was thinking it was.
Yeah.
The rough hit rates.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't really know much about Lorcana, but it's good to it's interesting because I like the Disney properties, but it also seems to be like kind of the more older Disney properties because Disney has. And what would make it a little weird is like they have Marvel, they have Star Wars, they have these other things that already have its own TCG. So it'd be a little weird for Lorcana to make like a Star Wars set. But they could, I think, technically, because they own Star Wars. One thing that I think would be really cool is a Lorcana Kingdom Hearts set. That would be cool.
Yeah, there have been people who have talked about that.
Yeah.
And I think that would be really cool. I think Chef actually might have talked to some people at Gen Con last year, although I could be wrong. I think Nick and Walrus and Chef might have all talked to him. But I know like they made some announcements. They're very slowly like incorporating more and more of the IPs.
Yeah.
So like one of the fan favorites is Mushu from Mulan. He just got his first card in the 6th set or 7th set. 7th set now. And they talked about Pixar coming, I think, next year, if I'm not mistaken. And so like once that's going to start opening some of the floodgates. So
yeah,
I agree.
Story.
There's so many different of the different characters and movie series that they can pull from dating way back. They definitely have started with a lot of the classics and have very slowly started adding in some of the more modern things.
Yeah. Which makes sense. Let's see. Greeny has another question. Both y'all being a full-time worker, part-time flipper dipper, how many hours do you think you put in each week on average to the flipping and dipping? What do you think?
I can start or you can, either way.
I would say probably between 20 and 30 hours. Maybe probably a few hours a day. So whatever that comes out to, probably like 20 hours, somewhere around there.
I'm probably similar. So if you're just talking about the flipping piece, because I consume more content than I probably should on
Yeah.
YouTube. If you take that aspect away, or like being in Discord, if you take that away, probably between like 10 and 20 hours. I think as sets, I'm speaking probably more specifically to Japanese here, but as set releases come around, then I'm spending more time because I'm online buying singles.
Mm.
Outside of that, I've actually been really trying to divert some of my efforts to just sending stuff to James. So almost anything over 100 that's graded, I just send to James and let him do that. And then anything under 100, or if I have like multiple copies of a card, I'll keep some for myself, or anything under 100 I'll sell on my own eBay. So I'm still maintaining my eBay in that capacity, but also just trying to cut down on the amount of time that I'm having to put into listing and packaging and whatnot, and just send it to James, since as long as I don't get crushed too bad under what quote market would be, or what I think I could buy, what I could sell it bin, then keeping the money flowing is just better for me, and having to put in less time.
Yeah. If all goes well, I will probably be upping my hours a lot. But not going to announce anything yet till something happens. But there's potential for my hours to be much more than they are right now. But yeah, we'll see.
Excited to hear any updates in the near future, hopefully.
Yeah. Nan P and Professor Oker here. What's up, guys? If you had to erase one from the earth, which would you pick, Collecticon or Card Party? Basically meaning you can only go to one. I mean, there's so many more Collecticons. Like, if you were saying there's only one Collecticon per year and there's one Card Party per year, and you had to erase one, because the answer is Collecticon, because there's so many more of them. But honestly, if it was 1 and 1, I might say Card Party, because there's just more to do there, and there's still the selling aspect of it. And I would honestly probably say Card Party if there was only one of each and I had to get rid of one.
I am 100% with you as well. And there's the added bonus that Card Party's 3 days, Collecticon's only 2, so you also get that extra day.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's just something about the atmosphere in Card Party that's just makes you smile. Like, really just enjoyed being at Card Party. I know you were on the other side of the table, not selling, so I remember watching your recaps, but I don't know exactly like what your feelings are walking around there versus a Collecticon. But definitely the atmosphere there is just, there's just something really positive about it. So that's where I'd be in a 1-to-1 as well.
Yeah, I think, it's different because it feels more like a vacation. Like you're actually going to a convention to like enjoy what's going on during it, and not like to buy, just to sell, because there's just more interesting things happening. So, and there's things happening all over the place. There's pack battles happening. There's a whole bulk section that kids can go in and pick out bulk for their decks. There's people actually playing the game, and there's different activities and all this stuff. So there's just more stuff going on at them that's not necessarily the buying and selling, but then you also have the buying and selling. So it's all in one, and it's pretty cool. Yeah, I enjoyed my time there for sure.
Yeah, that's the one thing I'm like not upset about. I'm just curious, maybe, is I've purchased tables to vend at both Card Parties, and I'm likely going to stick to that plan, but I am curious to see what it would be like to be on the other side and actually get to go experience some of the fun that's going on around the show throughout the time. Yeah,
it's definitely heavily kid oriented, as you would expect it to be. Most of like the shows and the stage stuff and all that, but I like that. I like that it's catering more. Adults can still enjoy it, but kids also, we should be catering something towards them, because Collecticon is not really catered towards kids. I mean, kids can still have fun, like looking at all the cards and getting one or two, but it's more of an adult style thing. So it's nice to have a kid oriented convention that kids can go and hang out with other Pokemon loving kids, So
Yeah, and I guess the words that come to mind for me is like Collectagon feels like maybe a trade show where it's really just focused on the transactions, whereas like you said, Card Party is a convention where like people are going there to actually have fun.
Yeah. Yep.
And not have Jason Page scream in their ears.
Yeah, exactly. Drew, how's it going? Let's see. Still have a first print chapter box. Nice, Greenie.
Yeah, there's actually an interesting story about that. I saw Greenie's message. So Lorcana is being produced by Ravensburger. I believe is the correct pronunciation, not Ravensburger. Ravensburger. Who is probably most widely known for puzzles. And their first card game. And so they didn't really know what was best for manufacturing the boxes from a security perspective. And so first print, first chapter was just, and actually, I don't think I have a box here. Let me grab it. This is second chapter, but I can still show. So basically, the boxes look like this, and you can see like it's open here. And what they ended up putting was these little just sticker seals on the second print of the first chapter. On the first print, they had nothing. So you could literally pull packs out of the bottom. You could pull packs out of the side. And so it's always been this thing with the first print of the first chapter. Loose boxes, at least, are a little bit sussy. But if you have sealed cases, then they go for a premium.
Gotcha. Okay.
Now they shrink wrap, which is good.
Oh, that's awesome.
So I think set 3 was when they started shrink wrapping. I think they learned very quickly, which was good.
Yeah.
So they got a lot of heat for that. But I would say, as much as it sucks that they weren't prepared from the jump, like the fact that they went from set 1 to set 3 and already had it basically corrected was great.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. They're obviously listening and making changes, which is good.
Yep.
Let's see. Timmy has, so are your plays just buy raw cheap that grade 10s that are Japanese, send only to PSA? Yeah. How are you navigating right now? Are you grading with just one company? Are you grading with CGC, PSA? What are
I'm grading with all the companies, including the truest of them all. Although I haven't actually sent to them since they were probably way overloaded, just because I don't want to deal with that.
Well, they're still way
my brother
overloaded.
actually might have had some cards lost, but we're still waiting to see. But yeah, I'm not focusing only on Japanese, though I will say when I'm buying online, that's probably exclusively what I'm buying. And then when I'm in person, I'm typically buying English. Because when I can see it in hand at local shows, it's a lot easier for me to pull the trigger on English. And, like other stuff said, I'll pay full market price for a card if I think it has a very high chance of a 10. And I actually want to focus on the word cheap here, because I think a lot of my business did focus on cheaper cards early on. And in the last 6 months, I've really started to focus on higher value cards with lower volume. One, because then I just don't have to deal with as much volume myself. But also, like I said, I'm trying to offload a lot of my manual work to James. And so if I can buy things that I know are going to be even in 9, if it's over the $100 threshold, then I can still just send the 9s, even can just send the misses to James and have him offload those as well.
Yeah. I need to start leaning more into that realm. I'm still in the cheap realm, but
it's hard to get away. I find myself going back to it all the time. I just did with Rocket, bought a bunch of the ARs as well, just because I'm like, I like these and they're cool.
Yeah. And the risk is so much less, and you can buy so much more. So it's like, if I can buy, 10, 15, $5 cards and they're a $50 PSA 10, like, I don't know. But then there's like, why don't you just buy a $100 card and get a PSA 10 and you're making the same amount of profit probably. But yeah, I'm still kind of in the cheap realm of stuff, and for a lot of it. Some of the stuff I pay up for, but a lot of it is like the 25 or less sort of raw cards. But
yeah, and if you have the time and can really churn through, like, you might as well, because there's still buyers for those cards, and so you can still move them easy enough.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm in the same situation as you. Like, it's so weird that I was just thinking about this, but it's got to be card quality that I can buy like sight unseen from these Japanese companies as long as there's like a good condition designation. I'm like, yep, I know that's probably pack fresh, and I'll buy a bunch. I'll spend like a couple $1,000s on singles and not even worry about it. When if I go on TCG Player, it's just like, nope,
Yep,
I'm not
I get
buying
that.
anything off of here because and it's just got to be like the pack fresh condition is so different between Japanese and English. And yeah, I'm 100% with you. Like the last 2 collecticons I went to, I focused on buying, and at both I bought majority English because there's still a lot of money to be made in English, but I'm not buying it off a TCG Player because I need to know that it's going to do well if I'm going to pull the trigger. So,
and with how print quality's been, I think it's just been that much more difficult to just blind buy off TCG Player. Like Dan always talked about the Charizard from Celebrations. When you have that type of quality, sure, it makes the risk a little bit lower buying blind off TCG Player. But with Scarlet Violet print quality, I wouldn't recommend it. That's all I'll say.
Yeah. Yeah. Timmy had a follow up. How do you make money buying $10 cards plus 20 PSA grading fee and they sell for 50? You don't. I haven't graded cheap cards with PSA since they raised their prices from the 14 special in December or January or whenever that was. I think I sent some at 15, some at 14, but for the most part, you're not doing that right now because of the $20 grading fee. Because a lot of $10 cards are going to be 50, 60, maybe in PSA 10, and there's not going to be a whole lot of meat on the bone left.
Especially maybe in 4 months from now when you get your cards back.
Exactly. Yeah. If you send them out today. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Pretty brutal.
But there are avenues to explore in other grading companies, I'm sure. I know you're probably exploring those as well for some of the cheaper cards. So
yeah, I was grading a lot with CGC, especially stuff that I thought would possibly pristine. So I have a few hundred cards out there right now, and because they were $9.80 a card or something like that, and pristine sell pretty well. So that's been an avenue for a little bit, but I think they are raising their prices in the beginning of May, just a couple dollars.
I don't remember the exact dates. It's like end of next week, basically, I think. Wait, no, not next week. What's today's date? The 25th?
I think like in a week
and a half or something like that.
Oh, is it the 7th or the 2nd?
I want to say it was like the 7th.
The 7th. I think it's only going up a couple dollars, a few dollars. So a lot of those plays will still exist, especially with the 10% discount or whatever, but it just won't be as good as it was before.
Yep. How are you feeling about Beckett nowadays? Because I think you and I both recently went through sort of similar typical Beckett things of getting a bunch of 9.5s back and then cracking and sending. You sent the CGC. I know you got some pristines out of that. I sent the tag actually and got all 10s. Like everything I sent, that was
I got all pristines at CGC. Yeah.
Are you still playing the lottery?
No, I haven't recently. I'm still waiting for them to send me a prepaid shipping label so I can send those 5 cards back that were all mislabeled.
Yeah.
So that's been, I don't know when I'm actually going to get that. It'll be a fun experiment, I guess. But
hopefully by the end of the year.
Yeah. I did a kind of a spoiler for an upcoming video, but I cracked a Beckett pristine to send to tag, and I got the tag grade recently, and I looked at the dig report because the only thing that it got knocked for was centering, got 9.5 centering. And I was like, well, tag centering wise, it's like the one thing that I can say that I think a computer probably does more precisely than human eye is centering.
Yep.
So I was like, ooh, let's take a look at the dig report and see if I'm actually that far off on centering. And it was 51.49. It's like, how does that not get it? Literally one piece off.
That's were you looking for pristine? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. So I had a pristine. No. So I was looking to see why my Beckett pristine got a 9.5 centering grade
instead of a black label. That's what you're saying.
instead of a black
Okay.
label. And
Did you get the tag pristine?
No, because they said that there was some other issue on the back.
Okay,
but I did get a 10.
I know the tag pristine, the centering has to be 5149 at worst.
Yeah.
And I had like, I think 3 different cards that had nothing wrong except centering was worse than 5149. So I just got the gem 10 instead of pristine. And I know there can be a pretty good premium on the tag pristines. So
yeah, my top and bottom was 50-50. My left and right was 5149. It was like, oh, Beckett, how is that? How is that not a black label? Especially for centering, it's crazy.
Expect nothing less from them, but yeah.
Drew had a good experience at Card Party. That's good. Oh yeah, I met him at Card Party. You went with all his kids.
That was when I met him as well for the first time.
That was awesome. Let's see. I think I skipped some stuff. Vitalik, hello. Vitalik, still not quite sure how to say your name, but you're here for every one of these, and I really appreciate it. Let's see. Ray has a question. What's it like being so damn handsome?
I responded to him in chat. I said I'll message Weedle and let him know once he gets back to me.
Let's see. What's up, Boondock? How's it going? A question for both from HiveMind. How to manage taking money out of the hobby outside of large purchases like a car? Do you have a set amount you take out per month, or is it more dependent on how the month went? So do you pay yourself from your side business?
I take out 0.
Yeah.
I make enough in my 9 to 5 that I don't have to worry about that. If anything, actually, like maybe sprinkle a little bit from my 9 to 5 into the Pokemon business just to help supplement that a little bit. So yeah, that's my answer here. I don't take any out. If I needed to, it would probably be for similar situations that you've been in, which is you want to make a large purchase, so take it out. But other than that, I don't have any plans to in the near future, at least.
Yeah, that's one thing I would love to have. I don't feel like maybe Dan pays himself in a way that I would love to have someone on who's like, yeah, I pay myself a salary. I pay myself, $3,000 out of my business at the end of every month. And that's how I make it work. And like, how do you get to that point? Because I just look at the money at the end of I look at the profit at the end of the month and I'm like, I could pay myself like a couple $1,000, but then it's like, but then what am I gonna I could just buy more cards and make more money. So why would I do that?
Yeah.
I could see if that was the only thing and I had to pay myself to pay bills, but like you said, we're like double dipping. We have full-time income that is pretty good, so we don't have to do that, So yeah.
And I think that's one of the things that would make it harder to consider full-time in Pokemon is just my 9 to 5. I mean, gosh, for me, I went to school for way too long to I would feel too bad not using my degree. And towards a job, though, I mean, money talks in the end, I guess, right? But
that's true. Yeah.
Where I am, I'm very comfortable with my salary. So this is just what I'm enjoying doing on the side and making a little extra money.
Yeah.
And filling my house with things that I don't actually need.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, you were probably in college a lot longer than I was, and I was in it for too long for stupid reasons, but I was like 6 or 7 years in college before I finally got my bachelor's. You were probably in it for much longer for your higher ed.
Yeah, I think it was 4 years undergrad, 6 years for PhD. So
damn. Yeah, that's a lot.
I can go on a long rant about that, but I'll hold my tongue.
Yeah. Let's see. Thoughts on the Art Academy Astronaut Pika sale of $148,000. It was a 10, right? It was was it a PSA 10 or a CGC? It was a 10. I know that. I don't know. I would love to ask. I talked to Chibi Collectibles Sam, who does a lot with the Art Academies. I would love to ask him what his thoughts on it are, it being a PSA 10. But
yeah, I haven't kept up with these. I mean, that seems like a very healthy sale. So other than me saying that seems like a very healthy sale, that's probably all I can really contribute.
Yeah.
I would be interested to hear what Sam has to say about it, though.
I do really like the artwork on that card. Most of the art
Mhm.
academies are just gorgeous cards. And the fact that they were drawn on the stylus, that still blows my
That's
mind that
wild.
they were fully designed on the stylus on the
Mhm.
DS. Crazy the detail they were able to get with that. So an S Corp requires you to pay yourself. Oh, yeah, I guess
Yeah.
that makes sense.
I've always wondered, Dan has a salary, but I'm wondering like how much of that he actually takes as a salary, if you know what I'm saying. Like how much of it does he actually take and keep as salary?
I wonder if a lot of it just goes into like traditional investments.
Probably. That actually makes a lot more sense. He probably just, because he's talked multiple times about his strategies and how typically it's like dump it all at the beginning of the year and fill all the buckets.
Yeah.
So that's probably where it does go, because he's talked about how his sugar mama takes care of their living expenses.
Yeah. Yeah. No Prius in my life. So when I know I said this before, we were talking cars with somebody, might have been Spat. Maybe it was Retro. Or no, we were talking in the gaming chat channel. I was actually looking at the new Prius Prime before I bought my Kia, and that's a really nice looking car. That thing is slick. It's sporty
I think that's
looking.
what Eli from Pokemart was talking about wanting.
Oh yeah.
Him and Alex do their lives, and I know one of their lives he was talking about it, and so that was a running joke for a few weeks.
Oh yeah.
On their podcast.
Yeah, it doesn't look like the Prius used to look, because the Prius used to be a car that everyone would laugh at when you saw it, and now they definitely finally changed up the body style to make it actually look kind of cool. So it's pretty cool. So what do you do, if you don't mind telling us? What do you do for your full-time job outside of the Pokemon stuff?
Yeah, I work in clinical research, so I work from home, and essentially just I work for a company that smaller biotechs come to us to run their clinical trials because they don't have the personnel to do so.
Okay.
And I guess my job is a part of the team that's trying to win the business. And so I do a lot of the data analysis to develop clinical trial strategy. So just doing a lot of work on the computer, diving into data about trials that have already been run, and then recommending to companies what they should do for their own trials.
Gotcha. So you're basically like pitching contracts and trying to get them from the different companies to go to your business?
Yeah, they come to us and say, hey, we have this drug. We want to treat this disease. And for clinical trials, you basically start off in like preclinical, go through phase 1, 2, 3, and then try to get market approval. And so companies come to us at any of those phases and basically say, like, they'll typically have like a protocol written up that describes their trial, but they may not know where they want to go. So like if they need to do a larger study, they might need to go to the US and outside the US to like the Asia Pacific region or Europe. And so they come to us and say, hey, where should we run this? We need to enroll this many patients. How many sites do we need to go to? And how quickly can we do it? Or they'll come and say, we want to do it at this many sites this quickly. Is it possible? And so then my job might just be to say, you're crazy, which is typically what the response is, although we say it in a lot nicer way.
Yeah.
Or, here's some tweaks that we would make.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. What skills do you think you've acquired from your day-to-day 9 to 5 that you apply towards your Pokemon side business?
It's helped a lot with the data side of things. So I'm, pulling data from different areas, whether it's TCG player or what have you. And then, looking at trends, and I'm able to use sort of my data background to do some of the technical side of things, working in a lot of spreadsheets. And so translating some of those skills, that's probably what's helped the most. Also, since in a way I'm sort of part of the sales team, because like we're trying to sell ourselves to these companies that are wanting to run their trials. So we're basically saying like, choose us. And so we have a sales pitch that we go into with like a whole presentation and everything in front of the client. And so I think that has helped with just sort of like the customer facing piece of vending in person, or even honestly being on the buyer side as well, just because you need to be able to control the dynamic between, you know, what the seller's needs are, what your needs are, and just trying to find a happy middle and make both parties happy, especially if you're trying to actually have established relationships with people. So I think that's helped me a lot as well, locally vending or locally buying from vendors, I would say.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah. I'm sure Greeny, very similar. He's got to travel around and talk to people about different car parts, fasteners, and all that stuff. It's probably, I mean, the interpersonal skills, I think, is like a hack. It's like it's something that a lot of people nowadays don't excel with. And so I think if you can do really well with the Pokemon stuff, especially like you said, local shows and buying and selling in person and stuff like that.
Yeah, and along those lines, I've always been a big believer. So I worked in a restaurant, I think, for 5+ years. And so I developed a lot of those skills back then. And I'm a big advocate for everyone should spend some time in a customer service role in their lifetime, just so they can actually gain some of that perspective to see what it's like. I think it would make a lot of people's lives a lot better.
Yeah, I agree. I worked at Target for 5 or 6 years in electronics before I moved to the warehouse. And being up in electronics, you're basically a salesperson. Like, you know, if you're selling a TV to somebody, you want them to get the HDMI cable and the Blu-ray player, and you know, you gotta up the accessories, do all that stuff. And yeah, it's a very being customer facing, at least for a little while. I 100% agree.
Do you have much interaction nowadays in your current role?
No, not with.
I didn't think so.
Not front facing, at least. I have interaction with like my team and stuff, but I don't have any. You know, I don't talk to any clients, thankfully. But let's see. A good question here from Hive Mind. Do either of you share your hobby passions with any of your coworkers?
Yeah, it's funny you asked that.
I was going to say, you were saying prior that you get a lot of questions about your Van Gogh.
People love my canvases. So I guess this is my work background. So I'm like sitting at my work desk right now. Yeah. And I get comments all the time about my canvases in the background. And then people get upset when I put on virtual backgrounds because the canvases aren't there anymore. So like it's a whole thing. And my actual team knows that like I sell at shows and I do this on the side and have fun with it. And so they'll ask me questions all the time just about that side of things. And actually my boss is a Magic player. So he's big into Magic. And so him and I just sort of talk about TCGs in general from time to time. So although he's not into Pokemon specifically, it's fun to just chat about the TCG space with him. Yeah.
Yeah. I get questions every now and again, like early on. I think my whole team kind of now knows that I, you know, sell and collect cards and stuff, but I get questions about stuff in the background sometimes. Or like there used to be a Pikachu plush out there, so people would ask. But I think at one point I told one of my coworkers that I had like a side business, and that she asked what it was, and I said it was like selling trading cards. She's like, "Oh, my husband does that too." It's like, "Oh, okay, cool." So, but I don't. I mean, I work from home. I'm kind of on my own little island. I'm like the only person that works on the website apart from my boss. So I am not in conversation with a lot of the other team because they're doing a lot of other stuff. So thankfully, there's a part of me that is like, maybe I should talk to those people more often. And then there's part of me that's like, no, I don't really want to. But yeah. But yeah, my team's great. I like most of the people on my team. So let's see. That's one thing I only ever used a blurred background.
Yeah, Greeny, is your setup where your Slab podcast setup is? You working from the same spot?
Yeah, with all the graded magazines and games and everything.
Got variety of stuff behind them, so I'm sure that would spark a lot of conversations.
Yeah. Same spot. Oh. Nice.
So one thing I'm curious about
Yeah.
is, this is not cards related at all, but with pre-orders dropping over the last couple of days, curious
Mm.
if you're looking forward to the Switch 2 at all. I know there's
Oh,
been conversations in Discord about it and whatnot, but
yeah. I am. I'm gonna get one eventually. I think we talked about it a little bit with Beerski last night. I know that you haven't fully caught up yet on all of them, but um, we talked about it a little bit, and I do want to get one. But I'm probably gonna wait until there's more games out for it because it looks like it's only really launching with Mario Kart, and then maybe a couple months
for
we might
cheap
get another.
$90 or $100 or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. So I'll probably wait until maybe that Donkey Kong game comes out or one of those other games that I'm looking forward to. The new Pokemon game, obviously. But yeah, I do want one eventually. I just am not going to be like a day one buyer just because there's not going to be a whole lot there on day one.
Understandable.
Yeah. Let's see. Any video game storylines y'all playing through? Like a story game? Story video game? Any games you're playing right now?
I used to play so many video games. I play almost none now. The last time I played an actual video game was however many Saturdays ago that was, when we all hopped on and were playing. So
Oh yeah. Yeah, so I mean the last game I played obviously was Scarlet and Violet. I did that before I started this whole 30 for 30 thing, and that was it was fun. It was good to play through and finish it and say that I am caught up on all the Pokemon video games. I've played them all, so I'm happy about that. But there's a game that just came out that looks pretty cool. It's like a Japanese RPG. I don't even know what it's called. It's got the weirdest name, but I've heard really good things about it and I want to play it. I got it downloaded on the Game Pass, but we'll see if I ever get around to it. It's called Claire Obscure Expedition 33. Of course, it's a Japanese game.
But still, don't really know much about it.
And then Bethesda was just like, "Oh, would you guys like an Oblivion remaster tomorrow?" And then they just dropped that on everybody. So I know there's a lot of people playing that, but
the last non FPS game I played was probably the Harry Potter game when it came out. I bought it and played it for a little bit, and then just like lost time, like didn't have time to play it. I did play all the way through Violet, which was fun. It was, I don't want to go down a whole spiral of conversation about this, but
we can if you want. I got
the semi-open world concept was cool in theory, and then in reality it wasn't, because like I skipped gyms that I wasn't supposed to skip because I didn't know the order to actually go in.
Yeah.
And so like by the time I'm getting my last 2 badges, I'm fighting the weakest gyms. And I'm like, oh, okay, I was supposed to go here first. So like they said it was open world, but it wasn't actually, or at least it was supposed to be like semi-open world, but there was a storyline you were supposed to follow if you wanted to go through the normal progression.
Yeah, because they don't scale up with you. You know, they stay low level even if you're basically finishing the game. So yeah, it's like a faux open world. It's like, yes, you can do everything, but there is still kind of rails to the intended route. Yeah, I feel you there. I really liked. I think most of the characters were fine. I felt like they had fairly similar storylines where they were a villain, kind of. They were like kind of a dick, but then you realize that they're not really a dick, and then they kind of redeem themselves. That was basically every side character in the game. But I did really like, I mentioned this before, but the last part when you go into the crater, the Area Zero.
Yeah.
I really liked that last like hour and a half, 2 hours. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah. So overall,
and after I beat that, I didn't pick it up. I didn't play any of the DLC or anything. So
no, I don't really have a desire to either. I would like to go. Well, who knows if I'll have time to, but I would like to go back and play some of the older games that I haven't played in a while, like Sun and Moon and those ones because I feel like they were really cool.
I
But
find myself from time to time just picking up my Game Boy and just playing those.
yeah.
I play the trading card game on the Game Boy.
Oh, nice.
That's the way to do it.
Hell yeah.
I put so many hours into that game.
I think we had that one. I think we definitely had Pokemon Pinball. We had that.
That was so many hours into that as well. Oh, that was so much fun.
And I think we had the trading card game, and obviously we had like red and blue and yellow, and we've had all the Pokemon games all the way through, basically.
What was your favorite from your childhood?
From my childhood, I mean, probably silver. I might have had gold. I think I had gold. So probably gold. Probably will never recapture the moment when you realize that Kanto's also in the game, and the moment when you find red up in the mountain, and it's like, oh shit, like we're gonna take
like
on
level 80 something Pikachu and Snorlax. And,
exactly. So yeah, I probably have the most nostalgia for those games. My favorite is Heart Gold and Soul Silver. I think they're just like perfect remakes of Gold and Silver. They did such a good job with those. So
I never played them, and I need to go back and do that.
Yeah, they're basically just what made Silver and Gold good, just better with better graphics. And yeah.
I'm with Dan. I liked Crystal a lot. I don't know why.
Yeah,
it was
Crystal,
just like that cartridge stuck out to me as well, just because it was like partially see-through, which was sort of like the Game Boy itself. And
yeah. And it had like the side story with Suicune, right? Suicune and that trainer guy.
Yeah,
I forget what his name is, but yeah, Crystal was great, definitely. So do you have any plans? I asked this to who did I ask? I don't remember. Did you have any plans coming into the year, and how did those plans change in January when everything started exploding?
it's a good question. My plans, honestly, I saw things moving already, like in the fall, and so I went really, really heavy into Terrestrial singles in December and sent those out. And I think, like, although they've come way, way down for many of them, I think overall that play ended up turning out really good for me. And that was the time where I was really like leaning into the let's try to shift towards higher value individual items to then offload to James. And I think all of that was just sort of bolstered with things just going up and up and up. Because there were a number of cards that I just sent out like, oh, this one's at this price, it's worth to send out now. And then by the time I got it back, it was up even more. So it's like, okay, here you go, James, just take that too. Like one example was opening weekend of Paldean Fates. Nick, I bought some packs from Nick on eBay Live, and he pulled the Bubble Mew for me. And I was like, oh, that's like, loved the card. Literally had it in a pile for, I guess, did that come out in 20? Was that 24?
I don't know.
Because 23 was the start of Scarlet Violet Block, so 24 would have been
maybe end of 23, early 24.
Early 24.
23 was 151.
Yes, end of 23 was 151. But anyways, so I had it sitting in a stack, and I was like, oh, this is up to, I think it was like 250 or 300. I was like, okay, and a 10. So I was like, I'll send this one off. And then by the time I got it back, it was ended up ultimately selling for, I think, like 1,200. So like, just when things like that happen, it's just like, what do? You just keep going. And I think all it did was just make me sort of going a little bit harder on local shows, local card shops, trying to find clean singles to send in. And I think my plan of grading and trying to get things back quickly sort of was foiled as things have slowed down a lot. But there are higher dollar tiers that you can send that will get your cards back faster. So I guess I could just like leave that at that. Actually had one value plus just popped today that arrived like 3 weeks ago. So still moving if you want to pay for it. Yeah. So I think what I came in with as a plan in January has sort of worked out how I hoped, except maybe even a little bit better.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. I guess I'm in a similar, like I went really hard kind of beginning of January. Um, I should have gone harder in December because I would have paid less in taxes. but
Yep.
but I bought some stuff in December and then I bought a ton of stuff in January. And the thought was, PSA was like a month, like 3 weeks to like 5 weeks at the time. So I was like,
And they had the bulk turbo in January, which is what I
yeah,
took advantage of.
yeah. And so I was like, I'm just gonna buy all these singles and sent them all off. And now I'm just getting them back. And the
Yep.
thought was like, I'm gonna get all these singles back. I'm gonna boost my inventory at the beginning of the year. I'm gonna sell through stuff, and then I'm just going to be in this continuous state of buying and selling.
hmm
Um, and it's not been that. It's been I bought a bunch. I've been waiting. I've not been buying, and now I'm finally getting some stuff back so I can sell and start hopefully buying again. But yeah, it just
What's your
kind of
biggest
exploded
concern
everything.
with how things have worked out?
What's my biggest concern? I don't have. I mean, most of the stuff is gonna do fine. Like most of the stuff has gone up in price anyway, so I'm
hmm
probably gonna do better than I was previously. Uh, but I guess my concern over the past like month has just been like complacency. Like
mm
I'm not really following stuff as much because
Yeah.
I'm not buying right now. So I'm gonna have to kind of like relearn prices again, in a month or two when I'm back to buying. Uh, and instead of just like consistently turning and turning and turning and turning, because I went so hard at the beginning of the year. Because one of the big things that I wanted to do was I was using a small percentage of my business funds to like do the flipping. And I was
Yep.
like, well, this is stupid. I should use a much larger percentage. So at the beginning of the year, I dipped
Use the
harder.
larger percentage. Yep.
Yeah. But that put me in a position where I couldn't really buy as much over the last like 4 months. So yeah.
I mean, the obvious concern would be if the market dips, but I
Yeah.
don't know that that's much of a concern right this very second. I mean, we'll see how things play out in the near future. Do you have
Yeah.
any concerns with if everything just gets dumped on you at once? Like maybe from a cash flow standpoint, maybe not. Like I'm sure you have the money set back ready for the grading fees, but then that's
It,
also just a lot of inventory to manage to like actually get listed and get sent out and whatnot.
yeah. Luckily, they're showing up like I have had some stuff show up like same day, but a lot of these submissions are like 5 of this card, 6 of this card, 3 of
hmm
this card, 7 of that card. So even though it's a lot of cards overall, it's multi-quantity listing, so it doesn't take that much to actually list them, thankfully. Um, but yeah, I've been able to keep up so far with the stuff that's come in and getting it listed and things, but
Are
it
you a stock
definitely
photo multi-quantity listing person?
uh yeah, I mean I use a photo from my submission, but
hmm
I just say like 7 quantity, you're going to get a random copy in this grade of this card.
Yep.
And most people
Yep.
are fine with it. There's a couple people that are like, how am I supposed to know if it's fake if I can't see the serial number? And it's like,
hmm
it's a $30 slab. Like, go away.
Yep. Yep.
um,
Yeah, I think that's something a lot of people don't utilize enough is like stock photo. Like even if you have multiple tens of a certain card, like you said, just
yeah.
putting up the pictures of one and in your description very explicitly saying, consider this a stock photo.
Yeah.
The phrasing I use is something along the lines of like, you may or may not receive the card that is pictured. You will
Yeah.
receive a PSA 10 graded copy of this card, etc.
Yep. That's how I do all my multi quantity at this point because it's just so much easier. And most people don't care as long as they get the card in the grade that they paid for.
Yep. Do you get messages from buyers about certain numbers very often?
Not really. It's probably like once every couple weeks, someone will
hmm
ask, like, it says I'm getting a random card. What does that mean? And it's like, it's a random cert of cards in the grade. I say it in the description. It's fairly easy, but yeah, there are some people that will ask. But
one of my favorites is they'll see I have a quantity of 5. Let's say they're like, "Hi, I see you have a quantity of 5 for this card. Can you send me a picture of all 5 copies?
so that I
All
can
5
look
of
at
your
each
graded
one.
copies?"
Yeah,
Yes.
I've had that a couple times on the higher value ones. Yeah,
It's usually either just a no or don't
ignore.
respond.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. I have had a lot more people want to do like big bulk buys and trying to get like heavy discounts, and it's like no. But hey, if you don't ask, it won't ever happen, right? So
Do
I'm
you ever
sure.
actually do discounts for quantities on your listings?
Basically, because all my listings are OBO, so but
Okay.
there's auto denies. So what I'll say is, I'll tell them there's like a $3 or $5 best offer amount on there. So if you want $5 less, you can offer that, and then I'll refund you any excess shipping. And
Okay.
usually they'll go away because they want like 80% or something,
Mm-hmm.
which they're just not going to get. But sometimes people will buy anyway and send a bunch of offers through.
Yeah, I found more success with the like discount on buying multiple with raw cards or like sealed promos.
Yeah.
So I'll typically put them on those types of listings, but I don't know that I've done that on graded copies. It just seems like I'm trying to target an end consumer who just wants the card because they want that card graded in a 10 or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And so I don't want to necessarily attract the buyers that are like, I want 5 of these so I can sell them separately. Like, give me, like you said, give me 80%.
Yeah.
Or let me buy them at 80%.
Yeah. I've gotten a lot more people recently reaching out on Instagram too. Like, hey, I want to buy these 10 cards. What would you do if I bought it on Instagram? And it's like, it doesn't benefit me at all.
Right.
to
Just
sell to
increase
you on
your
Instagram.
risk
Yeah,
for them to save money and you to net the same amount in the end.
exactly.
I mean, I know there are definitely people that have success on Instagram, but
oh yeah,
it's not something that it's the same reason I don't really buy hardly at all off of Facebook groups, because I just don't feel like dealing with it.
Yeah. And a lot of people sell on Instagram are doing so that they don't have to claim the sales at the end of the month or at the end of the year. And I claim all my sales anyway. So
yep.
It's not really a beneficial transaction for the seller.
I'm with you.
You have $3,000 and you have to buy one item for your PC. What do you buy? $3,000. Damn, on one item. I mean, I wouldn't be spending all $3,000, but I would probably buy a PSA 10 W stamp Dark Charmeleon. It's probably like a $500 card, I think, or something, somewhere around there. Maybe it would be.
Yeah, that's tough.
I'm not sure.
That's real tough.
Maybe a PSA 9. I don't even know if you can get a PSA 9 Mario Pikachu for $3,000.
That's what I was thinking. I would go Luigi just because I like Luigi more.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think they probably are a little bit more than that now.
They might be.
But if they're not, that's what I'd say. Probably a Luigi PSA 9.
Yep.
If not that, I'd probably, if I'm going like a vintage card, probably one that a lot of people like, but Shining Gyarados.
Oh yeah.
Maybe just go unlimited in a 10 if you can get it for that cheap. I assume it's less than 3.
I'm not sure.
I haven't.
That is a sick card.
I'm not in the market for one, so I haven't actually paid attention to the pricing on it.
Yeah, me neither. Let's see. Thoughts on the current state of MetaZoo. Currently, the first unofficial tournament is happening at Houston Galacticon, where a lot of old Zoo players reside. So I think Houston is also the place where I think Biersky said that Ray is ripping up some boxes with Charlie. And they're going to be doing like a Q&A.
That happening this weekend.
So that'll be cool. I have a box coming in the mail from Skya that I bought. I'm excited to rip it. I did rip a little bit in Miami, and I got to see a lot of the cards in Miami, and they look good. I really like the textures. I think the artworks are amazing. The only thing that I've said that something I have to get used to, I don't really think it's a positive or negative. It's just something I'm not used to yet, is the magic card kind of card stock. It's a lot flimsier than a Pokemon card. It's like thinner. So it definitely feels different in the hand. You have to be a little bit more careful with them, I think. But overall, I think they look good.
Yeah, I haven't held any in hand, but I know on the cardstock front, I think it's the same printers as Lorcana. So
Mm.
I assume that would be somewhat familiar to me. I haven't cracked any. I noticed the boxes were $80 on Hills. And so that
Mm.
was actually one thing I did post in Discord when I saw that. And I picked up some boxes just to have fun with it. And so I don't know when I'm going to crack them. I might just save them for Orlando or something. We'll see.
Yeah, I should have bought some of those at $80, just a couple, even just to open.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently they had like legit sealed cases, like
yes,
and not searched, which is nice of them to do. But yeah, I wonder if Wholesale even knows about the altar boxes or not, or if they're just like, get this
that's
stuff
a
out
good
of here.
question. I don't know. It does say though, and it said it in the description that there was a chance at the alternate art box. So
yeah, cool. Then
I mean, they could have just copied and pasted that from the description they got from distributor, but it was at least on the website.
Yeah. Well, it's nice of them to not search it and send the sealed cases. Yeah,
I'll be interested to see what happens with the tournament, because I know the gameplay is obviously like not the same at all. So I'm very curious to see what the reception's like for that and what the turnout's going to be.
Yeah, I have no idea what the gameplay is like. I don't really have any idea what the MetaZoo gameplay is like either. I don't think I ever saw like the OG MetaZoo played. I know that it had like all the weird kind of fourth wall breaking elements in some of the cards and stuff, which I'm pretty sure they got rid of for the new gameplay. But yeah, I'm not sure how it plays either. It'd be nice if they could hook up like a Twitch stream or something and maybe broadcast some of the gameplay with somebody talking through it. That would be pretty cool. But yeah, should be cool. How's your experience been with tag so far?
Grimer just wanted you to say tag.
Tag. Yeah. Well, you sound like you may have a small issue potentially. Hopefully,
not me personally, but
yeah.
my brother. He was just texting me the other day saying, I think he sent in a Koro Mew and a few other cards, and he was like, "Yeah, I think they lost my cards." So he's been speaking with them, given that they had to like scale up very quickly to accommodate all the influx of cards. That's not surprising. I assume there's going to be some people that unfortunately that happens to them. For me, I got my cards in before the influx, and so other than my sub coming back later than the 10-day turnaround, everything was fine. I thought the one thing I will say, the submission process is strange, because you have to like buy your card slots, and then after you buy that, then you go back into the website to actually put in the cards and print out the submission form. So that was very foreign process and strange to me.
Yeah.
But after sending in, like, the sleeves, I see as very hit or miss. I see the appeal of the sleeves. They're not appealing to me. Like, I just ripped them all off and looked at my cards anyways. But I see some potential there for, like, if you're doing mystery bags or whatever, it just makes it a lot easier because it's already there and it's already randomized. Yeah. Like, as a buyer, you might feel a little bit more confidence, although I don't know if you can like open the bags and then put a different slab in with how they're stuck together. I haven't experimented or seen anyone talk about that. But yeah, overall, I think my limited experience has been positive, but I'm still cautiously optimistic.
Yeah, I think my the first time getting something back, the sleeves were kind of cool because it's like, oh, it's like I'm opening a pack, but my slab is inside. The second time getting them back, I'm just like, get these freaking things off as fast as possible. Like, this is so annoying, ripping these stupid packs off. So yeah, it's a neat thing, but it gets old quick, in my opinion. And yeah, I mean, the actual grading part of it has definitely been rocky. I've had some very low cards from the other companies get very high grades at tag, which has been very interesting to me. So yeah, working on a video about it.
And that was something that was brought up on Peak That Choose interview today with Nat Turner, just speaking about AI and its role in grading and how the surface is probably the most difficult part to actually get mastered.
Yeah.
And that's one of my cautious pieces with tag is they talk about it's improving over time. And so what does that mean for like your early adopters? Does that mean they have like a not lower quality grade, but like more uncertain grade? Because the AI, the algorithm, the whatever it is becoming more optimized over time. And so
is the whole like
your grade you're getting quote truer and truer as time goes on.
Yeah, it's like it's gonna be like the tinfoil hat theory with PSA, except it's gonna be real with tag, where it's like, oh, if it's an early cert, like stay away from it because the grading was, poor when they first started out, and now it's great, 2 years later after it's been refined and refined and refined. One thing that I want to stop spoiling my video, but one thing that was interesting that I wonder if this played into it or not, or if it was just different in a different way. But the dig report, I sent a tag slab in again. So I cracked the tag slab, sent the same card in to take again to get it graded again, and it was a significant downgrade from the first time, and it caught one more like surface issue on the card that apparently wasn't caught on the first dig report. So is that,
and that's
it was like 7 months ago.
Better?
Yeah. Is it improving? Did it just miss it the first time? Is it, it's tough. I don't know. So I don't know when this video is actually going to come out because I have to crack them all again, and I'm going to resend them all to tag.
I mean, by the time you get them back, people will forget that this was even said during this conversation. So
they'll be like, tag, what is tag? Everyone will be back to just grading with PSA and CGC, but yeah, we'll see. Maybe I'll have to pay up just to get it back. But if anyone knows where that claim was made, that the repeatability for grades on the same cards is like ±3 or ±6 or whatever was said, point me in the right direction, because I would like to include it in my video if I can.
Yeah, I think Jesse's said it a couple of different times. I would just have to find the actual videos. You can maybe check their podcast. Him and
they
might have said it on there.
They have the Poke SMP podcast. That was called.
Yeah.
I looked through the transcript of the Rob one because he was on Rob's podcast one time, and I thought maybe that's when he had said it. But yeah, maybe it was on their actual podcast. That's very true. But yeah, if not, it's fine. I don't have to add it, but yeah. Improving, he might have said it on flips in the comments.
Okay.
Maybe. I don't I am definitely in with Dan. And to be honest, like, I know that there's probably going to be quite a lot of people that are going to be like, why don't you do this with PSA? Why don't you do this with CGC? And it's like, they aren't making these wild claims. Like their investors are not making these claims, as basically advertisements to the public that, their consistency is ±3 in repeatability, or their grades are the truest grades on the market and all that stuff. It's just like, why even say this stuff? That's why I'm making the video, because like, it's it's just nonsense. But
yeah, and I'm such a data person, so it's like, if you're gonna make the claim, that's fine. I hope it's actually true, but I would like to see some data behind it. So
yeah, and Dan says that all the time. It's like it wouldn't be hard for them to make a video where they run the same card through the system like 20
even if
times.
it's faked, like it's at least showing it. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Verify the claim with some content or a video or
Yeah.
something if you're going to make the claim. So let's see. If you had an unclaimed neighborhood cat roaming around your house, would you A, ignore it, B, call animal control, C, feed and give scritches? I actually used to have a cat. I've had many neighborhood cats in this apartment complex that I'm in, but one of them used to come by all the time. I have a window in my office. She would hop up on the window ledge, and then I would walk around and she would follow me, and then I would feed her and pet her and stuff. And then one weekend she just like disappeared. Nobody, it was like super cold. We had like a super cold, it might have snowed, and she was just gone for like however many days. And then one of the neighbors who also took care of her saw her on like her outside camera and went out and basically just scooped her up, and now she lives in the neighbor's house. So
Okay.
so
That's
yeah,
cool.
so she got adopted and is now an indoor cat, which is nice. But yeah, I would feed and give scratches.
Yeah, it's interesting for me because I have a dog. I don't have cats. But I think my dog, I have a mini golden doodle, so I think he'd be fine with a cat being in the house. He'd be curious. Yeah, I mean, I'm an animal lover, so I'd also be C. I'd be feeding and giving scritches.
Yeah. If it was true, I would have been juice. There's a reason why they haven't shown their work, in my opinion. Yeah. I agree. I mean, it's a pretty badass statement, and I don't know. Like, it only benefits them to prove it, especially if they're going to say it. If they can prove it, then on top of that, like that's even better. One thing I'm curious. There have been instances, and I'm curious whether you think this is a good thing or a bad thing. There have been instances where people have cracked tag slabs and resent cards in. Usually it's higher value cards, like really expensive stuff, and tag will refuse to regrade, and they will just slab it what it was before and send it back. Do you think that's good or bad, or what are your thoughts on basically
I
regrading
have
being
a
rejected?
lot of takes, probably about this. I think at face value, it's par for the course. It's what I would expect, because if you're claiming that, you have this repeatability, you have this ability to detect cards, and if a card is resubmitted, then I understand from a company perspective why you're not going to grade it again. I hate it because it eliminates the possibility for people to do their own experiments for validation of the 6-point scale.
Yeah.
So that's the part that's probably my strongest opinion about it, is that I don't like that it takes away the ability to actually test the technology to make sure the claims are actually true.
Yeah.
And I think they're in a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation with, if they were to actually provide some data backing up the claims, because you're going to have some set of people that no matter what are going to say these claims aren't, I mean, the data here are false, like they're falsified. They're just made to look like it's actually valid.
Yeah.
But I think if it were true, I think there's more positive to come from them showing that type of data as opposed to not showing it.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's only positive. I will say they'll definitely get
Yeah.
some scrutiny and some people just saying that it's not real.
That's
which
true.
is fine.
Yeah.
It's the internet.
I find it really interesting that people, I think in theory, the whole like transparency and the dig report and giving you reasons why your grade got the grade that it got is nice. It's like gives me warm and fuzzies to know why my card got a 9 when I feel like it should have got a 10.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I've already seen people that are like, my first ed Lugia Hollow got a 7 and it has less dings in the dig report than this Lugia that has a 9 that has more dings in the dig report. And it's like people are already doing the comparison game because the transparency is there.
Because the scale's arbitrary. Like that's what it
Right.
boils down to.
Yeah. Which it's like it's a plus, but it's also a minus. Like, do people really want that level of transparency? They want it. They say that they want it, but then when they have it, do they actually want it, or will it just make them more angry?
It makes your card potentially more marketable, though. This is something Dan's talked about that I think is true, in that you can sort of play the psychology a little bit of the buyers and say, like, oh, my Gem Mint 10 is, the highest Gem Mint 10. So it's like top of all the Gem Mint 10s because it's ranked number whatever. Or like it's a top 5 out of 1,000 that have been graded Gem Mint 10. I don't know how much people actually care about that. But at the end of the day, I think there will be people who care about it. And so if those people want your cards, it might help you in the long run. But yeah,
there's more of a condition ladder where it's like, oh, well, yours is a 953.10 and mine is a 978.10. Therefore, my 978.10 is better than your 953.10 and should cost more. Yeah, it's interesting. It's kind of similar. Feels kind of similar to those people that, like, what is it, MBA or something like that, the company that grades the grade, and we'll put like the gold sticker on like a PSA slab or a diamond sticker on a PSA slab. It's like, how can we take something that's already graded and give it even more value, essentially? It's all very interesting stuff. All the psychology behind all of that, the way that people think, taking advantage of the way that people think to make more money. But yeah, that's a part of it, I guess, right?
Yeah, the psychology of the hobby fascinates me. That was my minor was in psychology. It's always been something I've been like interested in. So I sort of just like run through a lot of things when I'm consuming content, just thinking about the psychology of people, of the person making the video, the people in the comment section. That's why I like reading the comment section a lot of times. I don't comment myself. I just go through and I'm just like, just seeing other people's perspectives.
Yeah. So there's two things that I've been asking a lot of people that have come on. So a hot take and a act of kindness. So something that happened to you, something that happened that you did for somebody else, or something that you observed between a couple people, Pokemon related. You could start with whichever one you'd like, either hot take or act of kindness.
Didn't have time. I didn't prepare this in my head, so I might need a second.
Well, it was pretty pretty late. I appreciate you being here, though, and
of course,
stepping in.
My hot take. Start with the hot take.
Okay.
I'm gonna say that Legends Z to A will be the best Pokemon game that has come out yet when it releases.
That is,
and I know that's spicy for you because I know how you feel about Legends Arceus, and I think we have complete opposite opinions on that game. So,
yeah, well, Legends Z to A seems very different than Arceus, though. It seems less open world, and more confined to the city. Although the city will have different, it'll have like an underground, and you can go up on the buildings and stuff like that.
Yep.
I'm interested to see what the new battle system is like and how that works with all the different components of Pokemon.
It looks interesting for sure.
Yeah, because that's very different, kind of that real-time turn-based sort of like Final Fantasy VII-esque, where you have timer, You can attack once your timer goes up, and all that. Yeah, it seems very interesting to me. So we'll see. Charizard's in it, so I'm happy about that. That's
Charizard and
something to
Mega
be happy about.
Charizard. So
Yeah, Mega
that's all you need,
Charizard.
right?
Yeah. It'll definitely be better than Legends Arceus in that perspective. But yeah, it'll be interesting. I'm excited to play it. We'll see how it goes. I'm excited for Megas to be back. Yeah, we'll see. I'm looking forward to it. Yeah.
And then my act of kindness, I'm gonna flip it, and if I'm remembering correctly, I'm gonna actually point it at you. And this will apply to you, and it's applied to a couple of other people that I've seen at conventions, and that is in the mornings coming by with donuts or some other food to help the vendors, because you don't realize it until you're actually going and vending multiple times that you just kind of forget that food exists. And so, when a homie comes by with a donut or a bagel or a chicken sandwich or whatever the other things that I've heard about being spread, it's really a lifesaver. Or coffee. That's another big one. I've seen multiple people getting coffee for others. So it's just the little acts like that really do make a big difference.
Yeah, we were in Chicago, and Ponga and Grimer were vending, and Bierski and me and Spat went out or Bierski, me and Spat, and oh God, who came with us? Was it Vandy? No. Pokesmoke. He came with us.
I was going to say, if not Vandy, maybe Pokesmoke.
Yeah. So it was the four of us, and we went out for pizza, and we all got pizza, and we all got like our own individual ones. So we all had leftovers, and we were like, I'm going to combine my pizza with Spat, and Bierski gave his pizza, and we just brought it all back, and we were like, here, Grimer, have our leftover pizza, and Ponga, had Bierski's leftover pizza. And I don't know. I feel like there's just a little bit of like if you're not vending and you can help out the vendors, especially if they're like Grimer was selling for us all weekend, we were able to put stuff in their cases and stuff like that. Like if you can, you should try, because vending is a lot for sure. So yeah. Cool. Well, I think we can wrap it up. I really appreciate you being here, BB, and filling in tonight. It was great chatting. Of course. And yeah, I hope everybody has a good night. BB, if you want to say one more time where people can find you and support you if they wish to.
Yeah, just find me on Instagram. I think it's PokeBB _, or hit me up on Discord. I'm pretty active in Discord, or you'll see me amongst the live chats. So that's the easiest and best way to reach me.
Is your eBay linked on your Instagram?
Good question. I don't know. Probably not, because I'm not a good salesperson like that.
Okay.
But that prompts me that I need to do that, so I'll make a mental note.
Okay. But yeah, definitely check out his eBay as well. If he's selling similar stuff to me, you guys would probably like buying from him too. So
yeah, a little bit of Japanese, a little bit of English modern. So if you want modern 10s, maybe a little bit of raw.
Nice.
There might be something there for you.
Hell yeah. All right, guys. Well, thank you guys for being here in the chat. Tomorrow we are talking to Professor Oak at noon. Ooh. So earlier in the day. Thank God I can go to bed early tomorrow. the first of these chats that I could go to bed early. But yes, I'm very excited about that. Oak is an awesome human being, and I'm sure we'll have a good chat. So thanks again, BB, and we'll see you guys later. Thank you for your support. Have a good one.
Yeah. Thank you.